Warrior Cats, Crookedstars Promise by Erin Hunter, Chapter 35. Icy rain dripped through the roof of the den. Crooked shivered. His nest was damp. Beside him, Willow Breeze rolled over and stretched. Is it leaking again? A large drop thudded on her belly. She jumped to her paws, ears flicking. When will this rain end? She snapped. Cold leaf bear squalls had been battering the camp for days. Crooked licked her cheek. I'll ask Brambleberry to have a word with StarClan. He heaved himself to his paws, yawning. Very funny, Willow Breeze called as he squeezed out of the den. The den was dull, the sky gray as the squirrel's pelt. Puddledust, Leopardfur, and Sedge Creek were outside, stuffing the nursery walls and roof with leaves to keep out the weather. Their pelts were spiked with rain, their ears flat against the wind. Hellstar stood in the clearing, staring at the river. Crooked stopped beside him. Is it any higher? Water was already lapping over the shore beside the reed bed. Donkit and Malokit had been forbidden to go near the river. A swell might sweep through the reed bed at any moment and wash away an unsuspecting Kit. The banks are holding, Hellstar murmured, but we need to keep checking. Elkhart peered from his den, then darted out to join them. There's not a dry spot in camp. He eyed the river. Looks higher to me. Beyond the barrier of reeds, the water swirled brown and fast. It was too dangerous for fishing. Should we move Softwing and Greypool up to the Elder's Den? Elkhart suggested. Hellstar glanced at the nursery. Not yet. Softwing's kits, Donkit and Malokit, were peering out of the tree entrance. Blinking at the rain. 3 moons old. They looked more like paws every day. How's Greypool? Hellstar meowed. Crooked shook his head. Still sick. Greypool had recently moved from her den to the nursery, expecting Whippleclaw's kits. Brambleberry had been treating her nausea for days, but the queen had little appetite. We'll need to move them if the water comes any higher, Crooked advised. I've got an idea. Elkhart tugged a reed from the apprentice's den and stuck it into the muddy earth, marking where the water had reached. Now we'll be able to see how quickly it's rising. He sat back on his haunches. I'll check it regularly and let you know if it starts moving more quickly. Clever plan. Crooked shook out his pelt, pleased that his brother was back to normal. 2 moons ago, he wondered what was making the tawny warrior so distracted and anxious, and if it'd been blue fur after all. But Elkhart was his old self now, focused on warrior duties, training new apprentices, and Crooked had pushed away his worries. Mudfur trotted toward the Elder's Den with a bundle of leaves in his jaws. Crooked held him. Are those for birdsong? The old she-cat had been coughing for days. Mudfur nodded. Crooked hurried after him. As they reached the den, Crooked waited for Mudfur to squeeze inside, then followed. Brambleberry, he greeted the medicine cat crouching beside Birdsong. How is she? Birdsong scowled the shadows. She's still got her hearing and tongue in her head. Tangle Whisker rolled his eyes. She's definitely got a tongue in her head, he muttered. When Chalklaw joined StarClan, I thought I'd get some peace. Crooked picked his way past the 2 empty nests beside the entrance. They still carried the very faint scents of Shellheart and Chalklaw. He settled down beside the elder tabby and white she-cat. Brambleberry was shredding some herbs on the darkened earthen floor. This nest is damp, she hissed. Everything's damp. Birdsong started coughing. Tangle Whisker flattened his ears. If she's not talking, then she's giving me earache with her coughing. Birdsong swallowed painfully. You'll miss me when I'm gone, she rasped. You're not going anywhere. Brambleberry finished ripping up the herbs and thrust them under the old she-cat's nose. Eat these, they'll soothe your throat. She glanced up at Crooked. I've sent Loudbelly, Frogleaf, and Skyheart to look for dry moss. The StarClan knows where they'll find any. Mudfur tipped his head. Perhaps ThunderClan would give us some, he suggested. There are plenty of sheltered spots in the forest, and they owe us for giving them sunny rocks. Tangle Whisker snorted. We can't ask ThunderClan for anything. They already think we're weak, and if this damp gets into all our bones, we won't be able to fight off a minnow, let alone those mangy warriors. Birdsong munched her herbs. When I was younger, we used to hunt in the big nest by the 2-leg meadow. Crooked looked anxiously at Brambleberry. The old cat was rambling. Was it a sign that she was getting a fever? Before there were so many dogs. Birdsong's eyes misted as she went on. There was a black and white mutt, she purred at Tangle Whisker. Do you remember it? The scrappy one always barking. It attacked me once. I remember. Tangle Whisker's whiskers twitched. It looked very surprised when you turned and swiped it on the muzzle. I kept its distance the next time we were hunting there. There was amusement in Birdsong's wheezy mew. Tanglewhisper tucked his paws tight under him and fluffed out his damp fur. What made you think about the two-leg nest? Do you want to go and hunt mice? No, frog brain, she flicked her tail at him. The two legs used to store dry grass there. That would keep our nest dry. No use putting in more moss. It just soaks up the wet from the ground. Tanglewhisper's eyes gleamed. Of course. Brownberry was on her paws. Do you think you could fetch some? She stared hopefully at Crooked Birdsong's cough won't get any better so long as she's sleeping in a damp nest. Of course. Excitement fizzed in his paws. Perhaps Birdsong's mind wasn't so addled after all. It was a brilliant idea. I'll go ask Hailstar. He squeezed out of the den and hurried down the slope. Hailstar was crouching beneath the willow. He stood up to greet Crooked. You look cheerful. Birdsong's been telling me about a two-leg nest where dry grass is stored. The barn! Hailstar lifted his tail. Of course. She took me hunting there when I was just a paw. A barn? Crooked instantly pictured Fleck's home. He hadn't thought of his old friend in moons. Where is it? The old warriors obviously weren't talking about Fleck and Mitzi's barn, which was much too far for regular hunting patrols. Beyond the dog fence, Hailstar told him. Past the field, there's a huge nest. No two legs in it, just dry grass and mice. He lifted his muzzle. Even in the cold rain, his felt sodden. He looked as strong as a warrior half his age. Peddledust, Sedge Creek, Leopard Fur, he called to the three cats weaving leaves into the nursery walls. You can finish that later. We have a special mission. Oakar, guarding his reed, looked up. What is it? Crooked flicked the rein from his tail. We're going to fetch dry bedding. Where from? Peddledust dropped their bundle of leaves and raced across the clearing. Sedge Creek leaped down from the nursery roof, followed. Leopard Fur on her tail. There's a barn just past the dog fence, Hailstar explained, his eyes shining. I used to hunt there when I was a paw. I haven't been there for years. Crooked paced around the river clan leader. We can catch some mice while we're there. Sunfish darted out of her nest, ears pricking. Did someone say hunting? Hunting? Softwing appeared from the nursery. Isn't the river too fast? We're hunting mice, Hailstar told her. I want to come. Delicate tumbled out of the nursery and raced clear of her mother's front paws. Her ginger and white fur was drenched in an instant. Dawn Kit, Softwing called crossly. How come she's allowed out and I'm not? Mallowkit squeaked indignantly from between her mother's paws. Hailstar headed for the gap in the reeds. We'd better get along before we have the whole clan trailing after us. Crooked raced after him with Peddledust, Leopard Fur, and Sedge Creek pounding at his heels. Rain rattled in the beech copse and splattered to the marsh. Crooked screwed up his eyes against the downpour, relieved when he spotted the dog fence looming ahead of them. Wait, he signaled the patrol back with a flick of his tail while he sniffed along the bottom of the fence. No fresh dog scent, he called back to his clanmates. It must hate rain more than we do. He slid under the fence. The sour tangle of mud and wet grass bathed his tongue as the patrol crept past a horse. Munching grass at the edge of the field, Crooked felt exposed in the short grass and quickened the pace. Peering through the rain, he saw a huge nest at the far side of the field. It rose squarely from behind a low gray wall, its black wooden sides dark and forbidding against the rain-filled sky. Is that it? He asked Hailstar. Hailstar nodded. Crooked darted forward, racing for the shelter of the low wall. As the patrol caught up, Peddledust tasted the air. No fresh scents, she reported. Leopard Fur sniffed. I can't taste anything but rain. Wait there. Hailstar jumped onto the wall and, keeping low, scanned the open space. On the other side, Crooked sprang up beside him. Bare cream stone stretched from the wall to the barn, just like the yard at Fleck's farm. All clear? Hailstar nodded. Crooked glanced down at Peddledust. Come on. Sedge Creek was first over the wall. Be careful, Crooked whispered, as she dropped to the ground below him. He hopped down after her, trekking the yard warily as Hailstar led them over the knobbly stone. There was a small, ragged hole in the bottom of the huge wooden barrier that blocked the entrance to the barn. Hailstar slid through first. All clear, he whispered. Leopard Fur followed, Sedge Creek and Peddledust on his tail. Crooked ducked in after them. Inside the roof soared as high as Silverpelt. Dim light seeped in through slits in the walls, and great shadows stretched across the smooth stone floor. Looming piles of golden dry grass were stacked at the edges. We'll collect grass first, Hailstar decided, then hunt. He waved Crooked and Sedge Creek toward one bundle and led Peddledust and Leopard Fur toward another. It smells dusty, Sedge Creek whispered. She gazed up at the flower roof, her fur pricking along her spine. Then she sneezed. Crooked whisker twitched. Come on. He led her to one of the huge grass bundles. Reaching up, he ripped out a clawful, rolled it around his paws before dropping it on the floor. Sedge Creek copied him, and they worked quietly until they made a pile of fat, prickly bundles, smelling strongly of sunshine and dried leaves. Crooked dusted grass seed from his ears with a paw and peered into the shadows at the back of the barn. His pelt tingled. The smell of grass and moss was stirring old memories. He dropped into a crouch. Follow me, he hissed to Sedge Creek. Together they stalked past Hellstar, Petalus, and Leopardfur, who were still busy bundling dry grass, and slipped into the shadows. Crooked stilled Sedge Creek with a flick of his tail, and pricked his ears. Tiny feet were scrabbling at the bottom of the wall. He nodded toward the sound, but Sedge Creek was already creeping across the stones. Her tail lifted a whisker off the ground. Her belly taut. Crooked selected a wider angle of approach, coming in from the side, and as Sedge Creek closed in on her prey, suddenly she pounced. Springing forward with her forepaws stretched, she missed, but the plump brown mouse fled straight toward Crooked. He scooped it up as it shot past and gave it a quick, killing bite. Very good. Hellstar was sitting back on his haunches with grass hanging from his paws. He rolled a final bundle and patted across the barn. Sedge Creek was already crouching down, ready for her next catch. Hellstar pricked his ears. A big one. His eyes widened with delight, and he dropped down beside her. Crooked tasted the air. He stiffened. That wasn't mouse. That was rat. Fleck had taught him to be wary of rat scents. One rat was okay. A swarm would be deadly. Watch out! He yelled a warning. 4 huge rats raced squealing from the shadows. Sedge Creek squawked with surprise. They're attacking us! She hopped into the air as a rat hurtled at her, but it grabbed her hind paw with its teeth and held on. Kershaw bounced squarely on the rat's back, killing it with a bite to its neck. Are you okay? Sedge Creek whimpered with pain as blood welled thick and scarlet from her hind paw. Leopardfur raced over to help. She clawed another rat and sent it squalling away. There's more, Sedge Creek gasped. Countless rats were streaming from the side of the barn. Their eyes burned and their sharp teeth glinted in the half-light. Get help, Greyjaw yelled at Petalus. But Petalus began to argue. Now! As the tortoiseshell warrior tore out of the barn, Crooked braced himself, trapped by her wounded hind leg. Sedge Creek was batting at the flood of rats with her front paws. Hellstar lunged wildly, rats on every side of him. Leopardfur shrieked as one bit her tail. She turned and sunk her teeth into its neck. Instantly another rat leaped on her back. Help! Crooked darted forward and hooked it off. Leopardfur wailed as it ripped her out of her fur. Hellstar! Sedge Creek screeched, made Crooked whirl around. 2 rats were attacking the river clan leader, one clinging to his spine and the other dragging at his hind legs with its teeth. Crooked hauled off the biggest rat and flung it to the edge of the barn. Wait! A snarl came from the shadows. Mapleshade. Crooked recoiled. What are you doing here? He growled. This is your chance, her voice rang inside his head. Leave him to the rats. You can be the leader of RiverClan today if you have the courage. No! Crooked lunged at the rat clinging onto Hellstar's pelt and clawed it away from the RiverClan leader. I won't let you kill my leader. Crooked hooked another rat and slapped it to the floor. Mapleshade hissed, but this is your destiny. Crooked growled under his breath. I decide my destiny, Mapleshade, not you. As Hellstar staggered to his paws, Crooked knocked away another rat. Behind him, Sedge Creek had made it to her feet, leaning on Leopardfur. Crooked glanced at the injured she-cat. She looked as if she could stand on her own for a short while. It was too dangerous to race for the entrance. The moment they stopped fighting, the rats would overwhelm them. Their only hope was to work together. Warriors, tail to tail, he ordered. They patrolled back toward one another and pressed their spines together, rearing up on their hind paws and swiping with their front legs. They met the rats with a circle of flashing claws. Hellstar was gasping for breath, but he jabbed mercilessly at the flood of brown creatures. Leopardfur yelled in triumph at each rat she sent flying. Sedge Creek slammed her paws down again and again, writhing, squealing bodies. Crookedjaw's nose and mouth filled with a musky tang of blood. Panic started to rise in his chest. Sedge Creek was starting to wobble on her injured leg, and Leopardfur sagged against his flank. They couldn't hold much longer. Try and get to the entrance, he yelled. As they edged back toward the hole, a pelt flashed at the corner of Crookedjaw's vision. I've brought help, Petalus yelled across the barn. Rippleclaw and Timberfur streaked toward them. Sunfish, Blackclaw, and Owlfur followed. They dived on the sea of rats, hooking them with their claws and hurling them across the barn. Timberfur cracked a spine in his jaws. Ripperclaw grabbed a rat with each forepaw and smashed them both against the hard stone floor. The rats scattered, shrieking, to the edge of the barn and flowed back into the shadows and disappeared. Crooked dropped onto all fours. Leopardfur crouched beside him. She was panting, her pelt streaked red, but her eyes were bright. "We did it," she gasped. Crooked lapped blood from between her ears. "Yes, we did." A weak groan sounded beside them. "Sedge Creek." Crooked ran to her side and searched her glittering eyes. How badly are you hurt?" She groaned. Paws pounded across stone, and a white pelt knocked Crooked away. "Give me room," Brambleberry snapped. The medicine cat crouched beside Sedge Creek. "Fetch cobwebs," she ordered. Ripperclaw and Timberfur streaked away and leaped onto the huge piles of grass, stretching up to snatch cobwebs from the wall behind. "Hailstar!" Alfred's shocked mew made Crooked freeze. "Hailstar?" Horror dropped like a stone in his belly. The Riverclan leader was lying stretched out on the stone floor. Blood pulsed from his throat. "Brambleberry!" Crooked yelled. "Hold on," she called back. "Sedge Creek's bleeding badly." Crooked dropped down beside Hailstar and felt for the wound in his neck. He found the tear in the skin and pressed his paw against it, desperately trying to stop the blood. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I let you down." "No, you didn't." Hailstar drew in a rattling breath. "You fought as bravely as I expected. Now you must lead the patrol home safely." "Get away from him!" Crooked gasped as he felt Mapleshade charge into his flank and knocked him away from Hailstar. The dark forest warrior's pelt was little more than a faint gleam in the half-light, but her eyes burned fierce and yellow. "No!" Crooked shoved past her and raced back to Hailstar, reaching again for the wound. No blood pulsed beneath his paws. It still seeped out, but no life force throbbed behind it. Hailstar's head had rolled to one side, and his eyes were glassy and dull. Crooked felt something snap inside his heart. "Brambleberry," Crooked meowed hoarsely. "He's dead." Collapsing to the cold earth floor, Crooked rested his head on Hailstar's matted pelt